Did you get a chance to watch any of the games this weekend? What were your thoughts on seeing those back-to-backs?
I didn't lock in and watch, any one game in its entirety. I watched a little bit of both series, I guess is what you could call them, with the back-to-back games. Obviously haven't talked to anyone in those programs, so don't know what that experience felt like, but we're just kind of outside looking in at this particular stage of the conference season.
Coach, can you talk about what the testing process has been like since you guys had that positive?
Yeah, we're just going through rounds of testing, Justin, and still in a wait and see mode. We're hoping to get negative tests as we go through the protocols and try to get back on the court sooner than later.
Chris, how are the guys handling all this? Just the uncertainty, sticking around, trying to keep their heads in the right place, and just the uncertainty of if and when, I guess more so when they get started again.
Yeah, I can't lie to you. It's very emotional. I worry about their mental health, and not just the players. I mean, everyone in our tier one group, people handle these sorts of situations differently. Everyone has a different internal makeup, and some are going to be more equipped for whatever reason than others in being able to navigate what we're going through and keep your wits about you. And, just waiting around, not knowing, what's next, when we're going to be back, et cetera, is taxing. And so I'm definitely concerned about it. And it's something that, we talk about with everybody on a daily basis, and make sure they understand that, they need to let us know if they're not in a good place. We're not mind readers. You guys need to communicate with us so we can try to help as best we can. And that goes for everybody, not just the players. I mean, with our group that we have down here with coaches and staff, and, we make sure everybody understands that, again, it's different for everybody, and we're cognizant of it and trying to make sure that, we communicate properly with everybody and make sure that, they are doing the same with us. But it's definitely, a difficult situation.
Coach, I know you had said that when that first one came up back in, I want to say December, you were absolutely shocked. Is there anything that you can attribute it to as far as a positive case? And is it just the one positive case thus far?
Hey, if you got this virus figured out, you need to communicate the information that you have, because, I don't know how you figure out how you get infected. I mean, I have no idea. I raised my eyebrows on a number of different situations since the pandemic hit us in March on certain people, not just in our tier one group, but just overall how they contracted the virus, knowing how they've conducted themselves and decisions that they've made. And then to look at others and how they're dealing with the coronavirus and how it's affected their lives or not affected their lives, and not contract, the virus. So I got to think it's got something to do with your internal makeup. I don't know. I'm not even close to being educated enough to understand, how it moves around and how some of our guys over time have been affected. Certainly, we've had exposure to it, since we started, but we didn't really know about the exposure until after we had some contact or were in a certain gym, that people there had the virus, but we didn't know it prior to those situations. So, again, I'm befuddled, and but it is what it is, and we've got to deal with it.
Coach, with the chance that if things were to be on the positive side, you could get back to practice today and still being away from January 22nd would be your next scheduled game, would you still like to try to get in one more game before the start of conference play?
Well, before, the recent positive, we were going to try to get in, as many games as possible. You were thinking more like 3 or 4. At this point, we still don't have a return date. So we'd like to get in a game or 2 at most before January 22nd. But when you get into this conference season, I had talked about it, prior to this point, of hooking up with teams that were to play others that went on pause. But, there's not as many teams available now as there were in the non-league. I mean, some teams are not wanting to fill open spots. They're just going to ride it out and wait for the next conference matchup. So you got to find teams that are like us, that don't have a lot of games under their belt, that still want that experience once they're in a conference race, and not everybody feels that way. So it's difficult to find Division I games at this point, with everyone in their own league races. But certainly we're trying to put ourselves in position once we get off this pause to be able to play a game or 2 prior to that January 22nd date.
Hey, Chris, I know it's guys like Mario and Braun that are probably having these conversations, if they're even being had, but where do you stand in terms of Santa Fe and decisions in the state? Are you in any way confident that something's going to change? I know originally this was the end of December and now it's extended to that. Are you in any different place than you have been on when you might be able to go back to New Mexico?
In my mind, I've just got my head around the fact that we're going to be here through the end of the season. I don't let my mind wander to think about going back to Cruces and practicing and playing. Certainly that would be ideal, but it's not a situation where I have any input in the decision whatsoever. So if that happens, it will act like it's a bonus and we'll deal with it. But right now, we're in a mindset where this is where we're going to be until our season is complete.
Anything else for Coach, guys?
Chris, what does the day-to-day look like now with the student athletes, with what school is, where you are day-to-day now being on the road? What's the contact with them? What are you guys doing every day?
We meet daily, either via Zoom or socially distancing, and check on them, give them updates, and certainly myself and our staff will get with individuals that we can, that aren't under any sort of quarantine. But it's pretty slow motion. It's pretty slow motion. We just really try to get through the day, to be honest with you, and hope for better days ahead, and hope for, negative tests for everybody in our tier 1 group. So we can get back on the court. But they're longer days, and there's just a lot going on. You stay occupied with, your personal preferences of, gaming systems, TV, film study on maybe another team, try to find something basketball wise, but there's just not a lot going on right now.
Coach, can you talk about just what the recovery process is like for a guy like Jabari Rice while all this is going on? Is he getting any attention from training staff, whether it be virtual or in person, stuff like that?
Oh yeah, he both he and Clayton, like any of our injured players, either short-term or long-term, have access and are doing what they are supposed to do in terms of a timeline of recovery. And, so that's been an ongoing process since they were hurt.
Anything else this morning, guys? Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, everybody.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Charlie.